Hi folks, I'm Dr. Joseph Reed, and in this video I want to talk with you about what it takes to be effective as a manager. Now if you're watching the video, I'm assuming that you are a manager already, or maybe you're aspiring to management, you're interested in getting into the occupation. I've been a manager, I've been in your shoes, I've done the job in a number of different venues, and I've also spent a good portion of my professional career, about 25 years, actually researching and studying what it is that the best managers do. So what I want to do in this video is offer you a formula, an equation for managerial effectiveness. By understanding the variables in the equation, you're going to have a much better idea about what managers do in general. And then when we talk a little bit about the weight of the variables, you're going to understand which variables, which factors, which qualities and skills are really most important for managerial success. Okay, so the equation. Now, before you start freaking out and flashing back to ninth grade algebra class, let me throw a disclaimer at you. Yeah, it's an equation, but it's really more of a metaphor than a strict algebraic equation. It's a way of thinking about what's important and understanding the relationship between the variables. All right, so here it is. ME, and that stands for managerial effectiveness, is a function of TS plus QT plus IM, and those three variables, TS, QT, IM, all get added together. And then sitting on the outside of the equation is another variable, MS. MS is going to multiply everything on the inside of the equation. All right, so here's what it looks like. TS plus QT plus IM, all of which get multiplied by MS. Got it? Okay, maybe I need to decipher it, explain it a little bit. Let me start with TS. The first variable in the equation, TS, stands for technical skill in whatever field you're operating within. If you're in IT, well, the technical skill is pretty obvious. If you're in accounting or finance, still technical skill, right? It's a different type of technical skill. If you're a barista on the corner at Starbucks, still technical skill, but it's a different type of technical skill. Every job has job specialized knowledge and information. That's what we mean by technical skill. Now, the variables aren't weighted equally. I'm going to explain each variable, and then I'll come back and give you their relative importance to managerial effectiveness. So variable number one, technical skill. Variable number two, quality of thinking. Quality thinking is about your cognitive decision making. And as a matter of fact, that's probably the best gauge. You know, how effective are your decisions? Long-term, short-term? When we punch down into the quality of your thinking, what do we come up with? Well, one of the drivers is called intellectual horsepower. It's about the raw processing power that you bring to bear on a situation. Intellectual horsepower is about your ability to take in information, synthesize it, process the information, tie it to different pieces of other data that you have. Intellectual horsepower is sort of like IQ in that it's an innate ability. Some people have a lot of intellectual horsepower. You know, metaphorically speaking, they're driving Porsches. And the good news for me and you is that there's more to quality of thinking than just intellectual horsepower. The other variable that really contributes to the quality of our thinking is something that I'm going to call critical thinking skills. Now, critical thinking skills aren't necessarily innate. right? They're things we learn over time. Being able to recognize the assumptions that are affecting my decisions, that's a critical thinking skill. Understanding the perceptual distortions that may affect how I look at a situation, that's a critical thinking skill. Evaluating my arguments and the arguments of other people. Drawing accurate, logical, rational conclusions. All of those are critical thinking skills. So think of the intellectual horsepower as being the car that you're driving. Some cars have a lot of horsepower, other cars have less horsepower. But it's not the only factor that comes into play in terms of who's going to win the race. There's also the skill of the driver. Think of critical thinking skills as your driving skill, your ability to harness that intellectual horsepower. So, variable number 1, technical skill. Variable number 2, quality of thinking. Variable number 3, IM, stands for interpersonal mastery. Interpersonal mastery. Simply put, how do you work with other people? Starting with your ability to create some type of connection with them, develop some type of emotional affinity, emotional intimacy with somebody else. Interpersonal mastery is also about your communication skills. Are you able to get your messages across clearly, accurately, and in a way that has the impact that you want? And interpersonal mastery also involves things like empathy and influence. All of those go into the dimension that we're referring to as interpersonal mastery. So those are the 3 additive variables that have a major impact on how effective a manager is. Their technical skill, their quality of thinking, their interpersonal mastery. They're not all created equal. Technical skill is important, but it's probably not enough to be effective as a manager. Think about the job of the manager. Think about the overarching goal of the manager. The primary goal of the manager is to get things done through and with other people. Technical skill probably is going to give you credibility with other people. It's going to help them to trust you. But have you ever known a manager, have you ever worked with a manager who only had technical skill? They probably weren't very effective, were they? So technical skill is sort of your ticket to the dance. It gets you in the door, but it does not ensure that you're going to have a good time at the dance. Variable number 2, quality of thinking. It's important. But interpersonal mastery is probably the key of those 3 variables. Again, management's getting things done through and with others. And interpersonal mastery is the variable that's going to allow you to build the relationship, to create the trust, to get your message across in a way that has the impact you want it to have. So, interpersonal mastery, probably where we want to place our priorities when we're thinking about what it takes to be effective as a manager. Now, I said in this equation that there's a variable on the outside that influences everything else. TS plus QT plus IM, all of which get influenced by MS. And MS in this case doesn't stand for Microsoft. MS stands for mindset. Mindset isn't about your decision making as much as it is about what's going on the inside, right? Up here, your emotions, your beliefs, your values, the paradigms through which you look at different situations, all of those in an amalgam comprise your mindset. And mindset affects everything that we do. Now, ideally, the more in control of your mindset you are, the more in control of your actions. But most of the time, most of us aren't really tuned into our mindset. Think of it as an iceberg. With an iceberg, most of the iceberg is pushed down beneath the surface. Can't really see it. Mindset's kind of similar. Most of what's going on in terms of our emotions and our values and our beliefs and our paradigms probably pushed down below the waterline of conscious thought. So, mindset, either consciously or subconsciously, is affecting what we do every moment of every day. Let me give you a quick little example. One of the courses that I lead is called Influencing, Getting Things Done When You're Not in Charge. And in that course, one of the things we do is really talk about how do you, as an individual, best navigate the political landscape of your organization. And almost in every seminar that I lead, there are people who come in with a mindset that organizational politics don't matter. I work in a meritocracy. My good work's going to automatically be noticed and rise to the top. Good work's going to be rewarded. Good work is a prerequisite, but good work may not be enough. The relationships that you have with people allow you to get your ideas heard and accepted. And the people who come in with the mindset that the political landscape doesn't matter probably don't engage in those behaviors to build the relationships. They don't do the things they need to do to persuade and influence, and as a result, their ideas don't get heard. That's an example of how mindset can affect behavior. And it happens at the managerial level all the time. If you're a manager and you believe that the employees you're working with are capable and competent and engaged and motivated, well, then you're going to act in a certain way. If, on the other hand, you believe the opposite, people I'm working with can't be trusted, they don't have the knowledge and skill that they need, well, that's going to affect your behavior as well. In the managerial effectiveness formula, we want you to be particularly attentive to your mindset. Do your best to understand where you're coming from in terms of your beliefs and your attitudes and your values. And do your best to control those so that they're functional for you. The more control you have over your mindset, the more behavioral and emotional flexibility you're going to have in working with people. And as Martha Stewart used to say, that's a good thing. I'm Dr. Joseph Reed. I want to thank you for watching this video. Remember, this is the managerial effectiveness formula, TS plus QT plus IM, all of which get influenced by mindset.